Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Caleb Likes Books. Today I have another book review for you for the second entry in The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, which is The Two Towers. So as you probably know, if you've seen my Fellowship of the Ring review that I did recently, I've been rereading The Lord of the Rings. I was planning to get to the rest of the trilogy by the end of 2023, ended up pushing that a little bit out. I am finishing this at the time of recording this at the beginning of 2024, and Return of the King's up next. I didn't manage to finish it as quickly as I hoped, but that's fine. But I really wanted to reread these books because I loved them, and it's been a couple years since I read them, and I wanted to see how they were now. And I really loved my time with The Two Towers. I think it is better than Fellowship of the Ring, personally. I'll have to wait and see how I feel about Return of the King in comparison. But from my memory, this was my favorite of the trilogy when I first read them. It's also probably my favorite of the movie trilogy as well, though I haven't seen those in a while either. But I really loved this book a lot, and it was amazing. So to talk about good stuff, which is pretty much all I have to say in this review, the book, like the first book, is split into two parts, which in this case is books 3 and 4. Book 3 focused on the majority of the Fellowship, which was Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, Merry and Pippin, all those guys in Rohan. And that was excellent. It was probably my favorite part of the trilogy so far in terms of the first two books. Out of the 4 parts, the 4 books, you could say, book 3 was probably my favorite. It was just really excellent all around. A lot more fast-paced, I think, than a lot of Fellowship of the Ring was. Fellowship was a very slow-paced book to me. You know, the first half was a lot of stuff in the Shire, a lot of setup, a lot of exposition, things like that, a lot of world building. And obviously there's a lot of that here as well, especially in regards to the world building. And it does have its slower moments. But I think this book in general, but especially the first part, was a lot faster paced, a lot more engaging to me. Not that the first book wasn't, but I was just so into it all throughout the first part of this book. I thought it was really, really interesting. Lots of cool stuff going on, lots of action. This book is much more action focused than Fellowship was. Fellowship, again, had its moments, especially later in the book, I think. But this has some moments of action all throughout the book that are all really good and all very enjoyable. And again, especially in the first half of the book, focusing a lot on, most of the Fellowship, with things like the Battle of Helm's Deep, for example, was excellent and was shorter than I expected it to be, considering that I remembered it being rather long in the movies. But obviously the books don't focus as heavily on the action as the movies do. But it was only one chapter, one short, 20-page chapter. But it was still excellent, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And I also really enjoyed the additional world building in the first part of the book, traveling to a new region of Middle-earth, and getting the characters being split up. You have Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn doing their thing, and then you also have Merry and Pippin hanging out with Treebeard and the Ents, which was really interesting. Getting to see this new race of people on Middle-earth, getting to see these new locations, meeting the Rohirrim. I don't know if that's the name of the whole people, or I think that's just like the people that do the stuff that I don't really know. But getting to meet the people of Rohan and Theoden and all of them, Éomer, all that stuff. That was all really interesting. The stuff with Grima, Saruman as well. The first half of this book is a lot of kind of trying to bring down Saruman and the place that he's at that I can't remember the name of, the big tower. And I really enjoyed that a lot. The whole first half of this book really was excellent and had a lot of great stuff in it that I really enjoyed. A little bit more poetry heavy than the second part of this book. The second part of this book didn't really have much of the poetry, singing stuff in it. The first half of this book had a decent amount. Again, I'm not really into that kind of thing, but it's fine. It provides some cool world building here and there. but wasn't really into that side of the book. But it was pretty much all front-loaded, so you don't really have to deal with much of that in the back end of the book. Speaking of the back end of the book, the second half primarily focuses on Sam, Frodo, and Gollum as they are making their way towards Mount Doom into Mordor and things like that. I really enjoyed this section. This section was, I think, a bit slower paced than the first half. The first half was very kind of fast, lots of stuff going on. Second half is much more slower, kind of feels to me more like the travelogue style of Fellowship. But also has some good world building to it, of course, and feels a bit darker because you have these characters who are, you know, really struggling to make this journey. A lot of good character stuff in here as well. I really enjoyed the interactions between Frodo, Sam, and Gollum because they are mainly the characters you follow here. You also come across Faramir and all the people with him and all that stuff, which, you know, you get a little bit more character interactions there for a short time, but the majority of this part of the book is just the three, Sam, Gollum, and Frodo, bouncing off each other, which I really enjoyed, especially seeing some of the conflicts that arose between the three of them and getting to see Gollum some more. All that stuff was really good. And of course, Frodo and Sam are just the best pair, as usual. And I really enjoyed the second half of this book as well. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first half, I would say. I think it was, you know, definitely a little slower paced, not quite as engaging, but still very good. And of course, ending with them meeting Shelob, which was actually a really exciting scene, I think. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on this book. I really enjoyed it overall. It was really excellent. I had a great time with it overall. Fellowship, I thought, was especially in the second half, kind of dragged a little more, but I really enjoyed all of this book all throughout, and I thought it was excellent. So that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on this book. If I were to rate it out of 10, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. Really excellent book. We'll see if it's my favorite of the trilogy by the time I finish Return of the King, but I would not be surprised if it is. I thought it was excellent and wonderful. So that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know in your comments what you think of this book, if you think it's the best of the trilogy, or if you think it's the worst of the trilogy, what you think of it overall, what you think of each section of the book, if you think the first part was better than the second, whatever thoughts you may have, let me know in the comments. So that is pretty much it for this video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.